This is Target Score Weekly with Joey Slattery and Taylor Allen. Welcome into episode 7 of Target Score Weekly. I'm Joey Slattery with Taylor Allen, coming off a very exciting but disappointing, outcome for Winnipeg in their first ever playoff game at Canada Life Centre. Edmonton Stingers were in town for a second straight game, Taylor, and I know people were hoping to see that redemption, to see Winnipeg make up for that loss just 6 days earlier, but Edmonton goes 3-0 in that first game. Quite intense. Also, before I get any further, I just want to remind everybody that we handed out a whole bunch of cards and met a whole lot of people that listen to the podcast. We're also on YouTube now. I failed to mention that last episode. But yeah, you can catch Target Score Weekly on YouTube. So if you ever wondered how handsome Taylor Allen is, you can see him talking, I was going to say live in the flesh, recorded in the flesh, every week. So we'll have those episodes out. That's been a lot of fun too, doing the YouTube stuff. And of course, we're still on Spotify and Apple. So if you're an audio listener, you're welcome as well. We randomly had a blow up in Texas last episode. We have a few listeners. I think it was like 15 or something like that from Texas. The listenership keeps growing. So wherever you're from, Europe, Canada, America, thank you for tuning into Target Score Weekly. This is the last episode of the season in terms of the season is over for the Sea Bears, but we do plan on continuing throughout the off season. So stick with us throughout that. But of course, we have to look at the week that was. We said it, Taylor. I said that we cannot look ahead to that second playoff game because that Edmonton game was so important, and you called it. Without EJ Anosike, they just weren't clicking, and Edmonton just didn't seem to have much difficulty walking into a very packed 10,500 plus stadium and walking out of there with a win.
Well, before I get into the game, I didn't have the heart to tell you, but after the game, leaving afterwards after I filed my story, I did see some of our business cards, just laying on the ground. But in my mind, though, those people must have been already listeners of this show, so that's why they wanted to leave the business card that we dished out to them. They just wanted to leave it behind for someone else to pick up to help spread the word. So I'm sure that's what was happening, right?
To be fair, I did leave like 4 per person, so
okay, that might have been a bit overkill. Fair enough.
Yeah,
but only found 3 though. Only found 3, so we dished out probably 100. So that's not a bad ratio at all. But
to be fair, there was the QR code on there, and I handed it out to one person, and 2 people scanned the code, so that makes up for the 2 cards lost. But no, it was nice. We saw a little boost in our listenership over the last week. So for a lot of you, this is your first time getting the alerted episode and getting it in real time. Welcome aboard Target Score Weekly. We're glad to have you, and we're going to have a lot of fun forever, Taylor, because we never plan on stopping.
That's a pretty long commitment. I don't know if my contract. I don't remember signing a contract saying that exactly, but sure, whatever. We'll go with that. But
once we get that Jolly Rancher money, buddy.
There we go. But I mean, I get no enjoyment out of the fact that actually, that's a bit of a lie. I'm low-key a little happy that I did, correctly predict the outcome of last game. But at the same time, I'm not really, because I saw how excited this market was, how excited this city was for this team, for playoff basketball. And it would have been fun to see this team go on a run, take this further, grow this, this sport, this league, this team even more. But like we talked about last week, losing EJ Anosike days before the game, the week of the playoff game, was really a death sentence. And, they talked about, that they have the depth to make up for a loss like that, and that guys are going to step up and whatnot. But, watching the game, that wasn't the case. Yes, Teddy scored 30+, and everyone saw that coming from a mile away. He did everything he possibly could. But after him, Simon played really well at the end there, especially at the end there in target score time. My goodness, he made some really big plays offensively. Took a charge or 2, I believe. He was awesome at the end there. Jelani, Watson-Gale, he played well. 18 points, but you could kind of tell that he wasn't fully at 100% yet either. But despite missing the last week's game, he still looked pretty good. Did what he could. But after those 3. No one stepped up. We needed a AJ Hess game. We needed a Glenn Yang game. We needed a Chad Possums game. We needed something. And there's just so many guys that just they had an opportunity to step up, take on a bigger role, and they all just kind of came out flat. And I'm actually kind of surprised that this game was even as close as it was because of that. But they did make it a good game. They were up, was it like 74, 72 or something like that late in the game. So they looked like they had a chance to squeak it out, but Edmonton is just a much more balanced team, much more balanced attack, and in the end, that's why they advanced to Sunday.
And that's kind of what they did the first game too, right? It just seemed like anytime Winnipeg had a run or even took over the lead, they never let it get out of hand, and they took over the lead, and they started going on a run of their own. So that's one thing Edmonton did really well. Who was probably watching that game was EJ Anosike himself. Failure on our part to say this off the top. We have EJ Anosike on the show coming up in just a little bit, so we'll chat with him and get his take on the season and how difficult it was, because we know he wanted to be with this team through the playoffs, but obviously playing for Team Nigeria is huge. So we'll hear about that experience. He's actually joining us from Lagos, Nigeria, so that'll be something. But you said it. Teddy Allen set a record. 35 points. It's never been done in CEBL playoff history, and it still wasn't enough. And that was only hours after Kat Barber said it in Scarborough in a shocking win against Ottawa that sent them to the Final Four. I think he had 32. That was the record for a few hours, and then Teddy overtook that. But it was kind of like a reverse of the game before, right? Like a lot of transition opportunities for Edmonton early, and then they just kind of won the battles in the second half, right? And it seemed like, yeah, you're right. Once Winnipeg got that run, and it felt like in the fourth, like, hey, maybe this is going to be Winnipeg coming around at the right time. Edmonton just went off, and they fed off that crowd. You can tell they enjoyed playing in Winnipeg. They were not phased at all, because it was a bit of a slow start for the game. I wouldn't say it was nerves. It was definitely, I think, adrenaline, just overcharge. That was, we talked about it on Reporter Row. That was an electric atmosphere, man. Like, that felt exactly like an NBA game. There, the fans in the upper deck on both sides. It was just, an absolutely full-on show out by Winnipeg. To speak to your point about the disappointment, of course, disappointed they lost, but I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of people that really enjoyed that experience. I don't think it hinders this team in any way, shape, or form moving forward. If anything, I think it helps next season. I think there's a lot of people excited to get their season tickets, and I think there's going to be a lot of players interested to come now to Winnipeg, to play in Winnipeg and see that for themselves and be part of the home side. But
well, that's the thing, though, Joey. I mean, building this team for year one, Mike Taylor reached out to a lot of guys who just weren't willing to take the risk to come to Winnipeg and this unknown team, unknown market. No one really knew how it was going to go. So he struck out with a couple of guys that he really had his eyes on. So the team that he put together, of course, he and everyone there is going to say that this was the team that they wanted from day one and everything. And yeah, some of the guys were, but a lot of the guys that they got, they were not the first choice. No. But yet, he put together a good game plan for these guys. He found guys that fit well together, and they were a legitimate CEBL contender in year one. So, like you just said,
place all year, like basically up until the end. Like they was that Edmonton loss that gave Calgary the first overall, and allowed them to pave their path to the Final Four, peaking at the right time. We did see it kind of falling apart, though, right? Like as the season went on, it was very dominant the first half. It got less and less dominant as it went on. Losing EJ was tough, and like even in that game, Taylor, how many times did we look over to each other? Right off the bat, Glenn Yang hits a shot, Hess hits a shot, and we're thinking, okay, like. We've been talking about guys needing to step up. Like Teddy Allen didn't score a field goal. I think it was maybe like 10 points in before he actually hit his first. So it kind of seemed like, okay, like secondary scoring's coming up. And Scott Billick was there with us too with the Winnipeg Sun. And, we were chatting like this is exactly what they need, right? It kind of felt like that off the hop. And it just didn't pan out. Like, I don't think Hess hit another shot after that. And like we kept saying, right, like, and I wouldn't say I backed him, but I thought him getting his feel for the three, when I think he was like 5 for 13 a couple of games ago, and I'm thinking, yeah, get your shooter's touch. It just never came on time, man. Like, I think this guy is anxious or excited to get out of town and just get a fresh start. I think he just wants to put this experience behind him. And I know Coach Taylor, talked a lot about his defense and this and that, but I honestly don't think it was enough to make up for what he was lacking in the offensive category where they needed it the most. And you're right, Jelani played good, but it just kind of seemed at the end they got away. And I know Mike Taylor reminded them a few times, like, stick to the system. When he was in target score time in a timeout, it was stick to the system, get the shots you want. And I feel like they weren't doing that. There was a little bit of hero ball happening, and I think the pressure was just too much. I think you had the fans that were there. Everybody wanted to win that game, and they started doing things that were a little out of their element. You take EJ out of the mix, the offense is a little bit out of sorts, even though they kind of built to that, right? I mean, we were talking about that last week. Osiande was getting a little more time. Hildebrandt was getting more time. It seemed like he was working the guys in for this scenario, knowing that EJ probably wasn't going to be there for the playoffs, but it's a tough end to the season, but this is in no way is a failure by any stretch. You got your playoff game. They had as many possible home games as anybody can get. There's only basically 2 teams that get this many home, or 3 teams that get this many home games, right? It was Calgary that got first overall in the West, and Ottawa in the East, and Winnipeg. They were one of the 3 teams to get a home game. They got it. Winnipeg showed out for it. This is a great building block, and it's also a reminder that, no matter how good things are going in the first half of the season, championships are not handed out then, and they got to continue, in through the second half of the season and prepare for playoffs. I think the team learned a lot. The organization learned a lot in terms of how to build that team for the playoffs next year. But this was a really, really fun season. I mean, this was the talk of the town all year, or all summer, I should say. Like, this was the hottest ticket in town. We saw, I think they set the 6, maybe 7 attendance records for the league.
7,
yeah. So this is something that I think the city should be proud of, the team should be proud of, the league should be proud of. I know they've been wanting to get here for a long time, and they did it the right way. And I think I tweeted it out too. It seemed impossible in November that this would even get pulled off, let alone have the success that it did. So hats off from ownership down to the support staff of what they were able to pull together this year. It's too bad they couldn't go to championship weekend, but I'm pretty confident next year championship weekend's coming to Winnipeg, so there'll be plenty of home games next year, and I think that is going to be an event of the summer in the country. I think that's going to draw a lot of tourism, maybe compared to other championship weekends in the past.
You said that AJ Hess is probably happy to be leaving town. I think CBear, not to be rude, but I think CBears fans are also happy that he's leaving town. I mean, this guy played 36 minutes, almost 36 minutes. 1 for 8 from 3. Like you said, he hit one of those early threes. We're like, okay, maybe he's here. Maybe an AJ Hess game is coming. And then he never hit another 3 again. I think he
just looked off. Like all year, like his line drive threes. Like to be fair, like I've not watched a lot of him beforehand. I was just reading the reports, and he's this great 3-point shooter, and I don't know if that is his his mechanics, or if the mechanics were off this year, but he just wasn't giving the ball a chance. It was a tough season for him. But yeah, I think everybody needed a fresh start in that one. I think he was one of the players. Surprisingly, you talk about second choices. I think he was probably one of the first choices based on the the scouting report that came with him.
Yeah,
and like you called it from the get go. He was your disappointment at mid-year, and I don't think anybody's changing their opinion on that.
Well, he was 1 for 8 for threes in the playoff game, and then the week before, I think he was 2 for 12? Yeah. So 3 for, I'm not a mathematician here, 3 for 20 in his last 20 3-point shot attempts. And they say keep shooting. Like, if you're a shooter, keep shooting. It's going to come. But with him, like, you watch it, like you kind of said, you watch his shots, you watch the misses. It wasn't like, oh, it hit the back rim, like it was so close, just some bad luck. Like, no, like the ball is coming out of his hand, pretty ugly looking.
There's good misses and there's bad misses. A lot of his were bad misses. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was a major disappointment. When you have an American player like that playing that many minutes, you need some numbers out of that guy, big time. And to have 36 minutes coming from a starting American on your team in a playoff game, you're gonna have a tough time going on a run, let alone winning a play-in game. And sadly that's what happened for the Sea Bears. So. He just didn't, step up. Neither did a guy like Glenn Yang, and again, like I said before, basically anybody outside of Teddy, Simon, and Jelani, and that's just not enough to get it done.
And even Simon, I mean, really, he had a good game, but it was really highlighted in the fourth quarter, right? And you kind of thought maybe, one of your U Sports guys stepping up in the fourth quarter, trying to, glue this thing together and trying to will his way to a win. You think there'd be another player that just ride that momentum, and just aside from Teddy, like even Jelani, like in the fourth quarter was kind of where he started to fizzle out. And so hats off to Simon. I mean, incredible season for him. And no championship is coming home this year. We know that, to Winnipeg, but doesn't mean there won't be any awards coming, because there's 5 awards that are awarded by the CEBL every year. There is the Canadian Player of the Year, the Defensive Player of the Year, and then the three others, all featuring Sea Bears as finalists. The Sixth Man of the Year, which Jelani Watson-Gale's up for, the U Sports Player of the Year, which Simon Hildebrandt's up for, and of course MVP Teddy Allen up for that as well. And I'd be shocked if they go 0 for 3 in that category because, I mean, there is some stiff competition though, right? I mean, we've talked about that in terms of like, you know, throughout the year, some of the guys were in the conversation. Now we know who the finalists are. It'll be awarded over championship weekend. I'm just going to sprinkle on this because there's no Sea Bears involved. But I think the most interesting battle for this one is the Canadian Player of the Year, Simi Shitu, who was the difference maker in the season series for Calgary when it came to playing Winnipeg. And he's not with his team for the playoffs. So, you know, going back to what we said, had they beat Edmonton, I would have been a lot more confident on Sunday with them playing Calgary without Simi Shitu even playing in Calgary than I was going into this weekend. I think that was a huge opportunity missed by Calgary as well. That said, Calgary took care of Edmonton in that final game or in the quarterfinal. Edmonton, I think, had a little bit of a run in the third. It kind of looked interesting, but, man, Calgary was just, like, not taking any chances. They had that killer instinct that Winnipeg just didn't have towards the end of the season where they weren't taking anything for granted, and they just put them away. But Simi Shitu is up for Canadian Player of the Year, up against Kadre Gray of the Ottawa Blackjacks. He's a U Sports guy. He played at Laurentian University. That's my alma mater as well. He played there, and he led the league in assists. And that team was on top of the standings in the East almost all year, kind of like Winnipeg. Similar situation. I don't know who it goes to. I honestly, if you tell me who to pick, like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of Simi Shitu. I've watched a lot of Kadre Gray. He didn't come through town this year, but that one is a toss-up for me. And the Defensive Player of the Year is interesting too, Taylor, because it's two Niagara River Lions that are up against each other. Just goes to show how good of a defensive team they were this year. Khalil Ahmed and EJ Onu both up for the Defensive Player of the Year. But let's start. Actually, what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Sixth Man, or do you want to start with U Sports Player of the Year?
I think let's go U Sports Player of the Year, because I think this one you can kind of make an argument, you know, a strong argument for either player, you know, when you look at their stats. But it's kind of an intriguing matchup because, you know, David Walker for Scarborough, that's who Simon Hildebrandt is going up against. He kind of put up better numbers than Simon, right? He averaged 10 points
further. Right, like, because these numbers I think they do include the playoff tally too in the first game. So he also carried his team a little further as well.
There you go. He 10 points per game, and he shot 47% from the field. Where Simon, you know, he had some flashes this year, but he kind of struggled with his shooting. Only shot 33%, averaged 6.1 points per game. But the thing that really kind of probably pushes this to Simon is the fact that David only played 9 games. Yeah. Where Simon was a guy that they used all year long. Did he have some stinkers this year? Absolutely. But he also, like I just said, he had some flashes. He had some games where he came up big and played above his weight. So I think Simon is a guy that, you know, will probably win this one, you would think. You know, not knocking David Walker, but just playing 9 games. Yeah, probably not going to go to him.
And he did start 3, right? He did, out of those 9 games, 3 of them were starts. So he was a crucial part. It is a tough call. I think, you know, over the long term, like, you know, Simon proved a few things in terms of playing through adversity, playing through some lapses. I think you have to take into that fourth quarter he had in that last game in the playoffs and just, you know, how he answered there.
Well, he impressed that fourth quarter. I could tell you he impressed Willie Jefferson of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I was at Bombers practice today, and Willie was asking about Simon. And Derek Taylor, friend of the show, CJOB, play-by-play man for the Bombers, he was asking me as well. I was like, is there really no Division I NCAA team that would want a guy like Simon? Like, he's a big kid, he can shoot. Like really, like, why wouldn't an American team want to take a chance on him? And, you know, that's probably a pretty fair question. Do I think he's NCAA Division I caliber? Yes and no. Yes and no.
I would say yes. I just don't know if he's like Duke caliber. But I do think there's a lot of NCAA Division I teams that, and I mean, he proved it here. He's playing against NCAA Division I guys, right? So I think for sure he could have played there. I don't think he would be able to, because I was about to say maybe he can transfer out, but the playing pro eliminates you from being able to go to the NCAA, which I think is actually better for Simon, because I think this is going to be better for his development here. I think he just flew under the radar. Manitoba guy that was, probably better known for his volleyball in high school than basketball. He was a star in both. So, I think he could. I honestly could see David Walker walking away with this one. I think Simon, just because you said, like, the sheer workload, would deserve this one. But, David Walker, in his short time there, did play really well, and he is a finalist, right? So at the end of the day, there was some good youth sports player. I think of Diego Mafia over in Vancouver for one. A few guys that could have definitely been up for it. He's up there. I don't think it's a lock for Simon. I think it's going to be a tight vote. A lot of the voters in the East probably saw more of David Walker. And unless Willie Jefferson has a vote, the endorsement, I don't know how far it goes, but he's definitely deserving of it. I think both players are deserving of it. And just the fact that you're a finalist is incredible. And he did it in his hometown. This has been a great season for Simon Hildebrandt, but I think he gets it on the sheer workload, but I wouldn't be shocked if David Walker gets it, because he's another deserving candidate as well. Moving on.
One more thing on that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, one more thing. David Walker, he goes to Toronto Metropolitan University, plays for the TMU Bold. And before we move on, I just have to say, who on earth thinks that is a better name than the Ryerson Rams? I don't get that whatsoever.
I understand the name
terrible.
For the university. I get it, going from Ryerson to TMU, but I don't know why you don't just keep the Rams. It still works.
Yes.
Just because it's not alliterated.
Well, what is bold? What even is that?
Well, that's a bold statement, man.
Yeah, there you go.
They took the bold move literally and made it their name. So yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of the rebrand either. I thought they should have just kept Rams. TMU Rams still sounds
that's
awesome.
fine. That would have been fine.
I don't know what a bold is. That's what I was told when I was being a very bad kid. I was being bold. So yeah, I don't know. Just reminds me of
very bad name change. So there you go. I guess it's a fitting one then. I guess in that regard. I don't know.
We'll move on before we get EJ on the show. Sixth man of the year, Jelani Watson-Gale, up against Edward Ekiyor of Niagara. Again, Niagara's got three guys up for these awards as well. They had a heck of a season, finishing first in the East and getting the bye to championship weekend, because we won't get into the playoff structure. We've beaten that horse to death, but they had a great year. This one's interesting because I thought it was a lock, but these are very similar numbers. Jelani averaged 23.1 minutes a game. Ekiyor, 23.4. Right, so they're right neck and neck. 12.8 points a game from Jelani, 12.1 from Ekiyor. 3.6 rebounds for Jelani, 5.5 for Edward Ekiyor, and Edward Ekiyor had 1.3 assists. Jelani had 3.4. So one has the edge in rebounds, the other has the edge in assists, and even from the three-point, because Jelani, known for his three-point shooting, he led the league, 48.5%. I think that's the edge, but 41.7 from three-point land from Edward Ekiyor. This is actually more neck and neck than I thought. I kind of, throughout the season, just kind of assumed he was running away with the sixth man of the year. I still think he's the sixth man of the year. I don't think just taking in I don't have his numbers on the closing, how many games he closed out on the winning shot.
Go. That's why I think he does have the edge, because he finished 5, 6, 7 games. Like we were saying to him last week when he was on the show, that when it was target score time, Jelani is one of the best players in the league. He was so clutch.
Totally.
So clutch. So I think that has to be a factor into this. I wish the league kept track of that, or at least made it more available. How many games, how many game-winning shots everyone has made. That should be, when you click leaders, on the website, it should show you that, right? That's a cool stat.
I think that's something. Yeah, that's something they should bring up. I think we're both in agreement here. I think Jelani takes this one. He built himself a name here. Kind of like Simon Hildebrandt. There's a lot of Jelani highlights in those CEBL highlight packs, and Simon Hildebrandt being the opening of the app with the dunk. Maybe that plays a factor. I don't know. But anyway, I know Simon's going to be a star in this league until he can't play here anymore. Jelani, who knows what the future holds. We talked to him last week. If you haven't heard it, check last week's episode. Great interview with Jelani, and he talked about how tiring it is, because now he didn't really get an off season. He's off to his overseas team in Brussels now. So we'll see if he's back. I know Winnipeg would love to have him back. And I'm sure he'd love to come play here too. It was a good experience. But if he does not, and he leaves here with a sixth man of the year, I think that is mission accomplished, and he'll be one of the early legends of the Sea Bears organization moving forward. So
Well, that's the thing. Like, he was late to. I mean, CBER's training camp is only what, 1 week, 2 weeks long, and
I think it was 8 days, a hard 8 days from what I understand.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But he was late to that, right? Like he had to do some studying on the plane basically before the first game of the year just to kind of know the system and know how to fit in with these guys and whatever. So because his Bristol Flyers, that's the team he played for before this in the British Basketball League. That season just ended. Finishes that, comes over to Winnipeg. This team, this league, he doesn't really know anything about, doesn't know what to expect. Plays this season. And now he's going off to Belgium, to Brussels pretty soon, right? So there's really no time to kind of kick up your feet and chill out on the beach or anything like that for him. So that's a lot of basketball. So by next summer, I could see him kind of wanting a little bit of a break. I mean, that's just, I'm not basing that off of anything that he said or anything, but I could just see there's a possibility for that. So don't be surprised if he's not back.
He's laying the foundation that this is, a possibility. So I think it's, there's a little bit of thought in that, being that open about it, because he did say it was exciting, but he was, looking to get some rest. So, albeit if he's back, great. If not, I mean, people will remember that name for years to come. This was a memorable season for him and the team. But of course, I mean, the guy that took all the spotlight this year, I don't know how many times I interviewed this guy at the end of the game as player of the game, Teddy Allen. You're a good cousin. It was great for you guys to reconnect this year. He's up for MVP. And he's up against Justin Ray Foreman from Saskatchewan, who also had a great year. Those were two of my favorite players to watch this year, Taylor. I mean, Justin Ray Foreman, just a huge competitor. He led the league in scoring. What was his spot? Yeah, 29.2 points a game. Teddy right behind him at 27.6. I have to say, as much as Justin Ray Foreman was great and he carried that Saskatchewan team, it has to be Teddy Allen, does it not? I mean, he also kind of carried this Winnipeg team, got them into the playoffs, kept them in first for most of the year, and he's like top 10 in I don't know how many categories, top 5 in a bunch too. And we talked about it throughout the year, like his offense and his scoring abilities. I mean, he set the record for 3 points in a game with 9. He set the records for points in a game, was at 42. They were tied. And then he sets the playoff record with 35. This guy has to be a lock.
It's not who is the better player. It is who is the most valuable player. And I think he's the better player as well, funny enough. But I think Teddy, just looking at Winnipeg's record and what they accomplished and how important he was to that absolutely he is the most valuable player in this league this year. He did so many things, and it's so easy to just get wrapped up in his scoring and all the records he set and whatever. But the rebounding, the defense, just the energy that this guy brought to the court, like he was the straw that stirred the drink with this team.
Yeah.
Like he did everything. So
literally everything, because we talked about his offense, but like defensively, like he had, I don't know how many steals he had on the season. I have it written down somewhere, but it doesn't matter. But like it was the timing of the steals. Like even in that playoff game, like he's just so disruptive defensively, and he created so much transition for this team that actually kind of struggled with transition for a lot of the season and getting it established. But when it was working, it was often because Teddy Allen was at the heart of the defense. Even his rebounds, like he had a lot of defensive rebounds, and I know a lot of them, not a lot of them, but many of them were gimmies. But he's there. Like he's playing defense. He wants the possession. He was forced to play point guard one game because Jelani was out, and he was willing to do it. And that's the one thing. The one thing I noticed, though, is he is able to carry the ball, but when he has the ball in the defensive end and he's carrying the ball up, everybody knows he's creating for himself. And it's going to take maybe a triple team before he's going to pass it off because he's probably going to make the shot. Like that's what it came to. He had a high volume of shots, but he also hit a high volume. And as Dave Crook, the color commentary for the Sea Bears would say, there's no bad shot for Teddy Allen. And I think he's right, because when you're putting down 30 a game and you're winning games, he knew what he was doing, and he still was able to facilitate for other players. I was really impressed with him this year. The team loved him. The crowd loved him. I think this guy really turned some heads this year, even beyond just this award. I hope he wins the award because I think he's well deserving of it based on what you said. He was the most valuable. But I think we're going to see this guy in the NBA. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get some sort of opportunity in the NBA. I think he proved a lot of naysayers wrong in terms of attitude and things like that, whatever negative things were out there about him, because we didn't see any of it this year. I mean, you and I covered the team pretty extensively, and he really seemed to be a leader on that team, and he's a big reason why Winnipeg was such a success this year.
Well, you look at, it's a short history, right? But you look at the the history of this league and the guys that have won this award. I mean, it's a short list. It's Xavier Moon, who won it 3 times, and then Khalil Ahmed, who won it last year. Xavier Moon, that's a guy who went on to bigger and better things. He played for the Clippers, right? And then Khalil, last year after the CEBL season, he played in the Israeli Basketball League. And for those that don't know, that's one of the top European leagues out there, and it pays pretty well as well. So for Teddy, we don't know what's next for him in the fall, whether this will lead to some NBA looks for him or not. I mean, I'm sure he'll at least get a look. I'm not 100% sure he's going to get an NBA contract, and we'll see him in the show. We'll say, but I think there's definitely a chance. But if not, I mean, there's going to be an awesome plan B out there for him as well. Like you can make darn good money playing overseas. There's so many European countries right now that with really big leagues that pay good money. There's even some local prospects here or local kids here that have gone on to play, Bisons and Westman that have gone to play overseas and make some good coin too. So yeah, Teddy he'll do okay after this year, no matter even if it's NBA or not.
I think he's worthy of a 10-day contract somewhere, whether it pans out or not. I think that my biggest, concern of him being in the NBA is that he was a star here. He knows how to be a star. I don't know if he could be that in the NBA when the level just jumps up that much more. Can he adapt to roles? The reason why I think he can is because this year we saw those roles. Like he had to play some roles as well, defensively, being disruptive against some really high-level players. We talked about his defense, probably not enough, actually. I was going to say we talked about it a lot, but I don't know if we talked about it enough because his offense was just so intense. But I think he gets a look, and it'd be nice to see him in the league. But you're right, there's a plan B out there for him. I think he's a lock for MVP. I think you think he's a lock, too, as great of a season as Justin Wright Foreman had. But it'll be interesting to see. Those are coming up on Championship Weekend. Next week we will cover all that. We're also going to have a preview of our thoughts of Final Four weekend now that the teams have been set. But first, we got to get to EJ Anosike, who's standing by for an interview. So stay with us for EJ Anosike, his thoughts on the season, and a little bit of clarity as to why he was not able to play in the finals. Sea Bears forward and now member of the Nigerian national team, EJ Anosike, joining us on Target Score Weekly. EJ, you are out in Nigeria right now. It's a 7-hour difference, so thank you so much for making the time. This is I know this is difficult for you to take this time. You're busy, but we really appreciate you coming on Target Score Weekly.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So first off, we have to ask you, how does this opportunity come about? I know this was a little bit difficult, of a decision in the sense that the Sea Bears were going into the playoffs, and I know some people were confused as to why it had to happen. But maybe tell us how this opportunity came up, and just maybe the difficulty. I know you wanted to make this decision. I don't know if it's difficult, but difficult in terms of leaving your team before a playoff run.
Yeah, basically, Nigeria announced they're hosting the pre-Olympic qualifiers this year. I didn't know who would be on the team or how it would all happen, or whether I'll be chosen to be on the team. I've been wanting to play for Team Nigeria my whole life since I was a kid. It's something I continue to work for, so I had an opportunity. So when the opportunity came, when I got called and said I was selected to play and represent Nigeria, especially in such a big tournament, because it means a lot to the country, especially with sports is the only thing that's positive going on back home, sports and music. Just to be a part of that and play with my brothers, play with some of my closest friends, and make those moments. And it's something for me that my family gets to come watch me play. I haven't seen some in 15 years. I haven't been back in Nigeria in 8 years. So it's one of those things for my family. It's something that they're very proud of and thankful, and we're all very blessed to have this moment and share together. And basketball connected me and brought me back home.
So EJ, obviously this is an incredible opportunity for you, something you've wanted for a long time. And speaking with you, and anyone that knows your story knows how proud you are to be Nigerian and of your roots and everything. But with that said, though, just how tough was it, though, having to leave the Sea Bears for the playoff run? I know Joey kind of asked a similar question, but it seemed like you really enjoyed your time here, and also you were a very important piece to this puzzle. So having to watch the game online and see what happened, just how kind of tough was that, I guess?
It was pretty tough knowing I couldn't be out there with my guys. I met some great people in Winnipeg, some of my closest friends. I had great teammates, I had a great experience. So, like, just seeing out there my brothers fight and I wasn't there to be there with them and leading the pack, it definitely was something that was tough to watch. But it also on a good note, I'm happy, some guys like Simon, Shane, Steph got opportunities with the minutes that I normally have to, make something and make something happen. To be able to play, contribute in ways they haven't contributed before. So I was very happy to see that, them take advantage of the opportunities and play well. And I feel like that's what the team's about. Even when one's not there, you still root for them, you still be positive, you still cheer your brothers on and hold them accountable and help them out. And, they're doing the same for me, wishing me luck on the best of this experience. And, before I made the decision, I spoke to all my teammates about it. And, it was one of those things that, I realized I was around a good group of guys playing in Winnipeg. Because they have my best interest at heart, you know what I mean? And they know how important me representing my country to go home and tell them about I haven't seen my family in so long. And when the opportunity came, it wasn't no hard feelings. Like, they felt like they'll take care of the job and they'll back me, whatever, because I've always been a good guy, high character, good teammate, and, we had positive moments throughout the whole year. So I feel like I just a fruit of all the time that we spent together and all the work we put in.
At what point did you know that there was a chance that you weren't going to be able to finish the year with the Sea Bears?
I would say right around towards the end of the regular season, because that's when the dates started getting like, all right, I felt like I would be here for the first, make it to the first playoff game, I'll be here. Like, I was very openly and trying to actively communicate and balance things off because they already started camp before I got here and I pushed it so I could play the whole regular season because I didn't want to leave late and everything. And I was just trying to see how the dates with the playoffs would work out because we were supposed to play the 12th, and that was the weekend of Vancouver of the Final Four weekend. And I'm just like, it's tough to just leave a team right before the Final Four. You know what I mean? So it was very tough with dates and everything. And, it's pretty normal in the CEBL. A lot of players have to leave early, whether it's to go to report to their European club or to a variety of different reasons due to the nature of the season, how long it is, so, and the timing and everything. So that was one of those conflicting factors, especially with the timing of all the events.
EJ, you touched on, Simon being able to get that opportunity to step up. And, in that fourth quarter, he really did against Edmonton. I think that was probably the best all around we've seen him. And he's played well this year. But, taking charges, hitting some big threes, like he really took over that fourth quarter. He's up for the U Sports Player of the Year. You're a young player yourself. One of the interesting things about this league is that U Sports partnership. And you found yourself in a bit of a mentorship role this year with Simon, shooting after games and working on, three-point shooting and being a stretch four. What was that experience like for you to find yourself as like, a veteran again, outside of university and really your first veteran presence as a pro?
It was something that was special. Simon's a great guy. He loves to compete. I love to compete as well. So it was like two friends coming together. Everything that he's going through that he will experience, whether in university or college or pro, I already knocked down those doors and I experienced it too. So it's great to have someone that's older that accomplishes the things that you want to accomplish that could give you the answers to the test before you face them and help you prepare for those moments before those moments come. And after games, he always come, chill with me, and practice and work on defense, little things, just to get better, 1% better every day. And a lot of it is the stuff that's off the court, like motivational talks, like stuff to read, things to listen to, like how you should look to yourself about being the best way you could be. And really, that's where the game all starts, like being confident and being who you are. And that was really a proud moment for me that I'm really thankful for. Just to share that with him and be a part of his growth and development as a player. So that was pretty fun.
And I'm sure you recommended he listen to Target Score Weekly regularly to make sure he's up to date with everything. So yeah, thanks for that.
Absolutely.
But you're out in Nigeria now. This is a talented Nigerian national team. You kind of go back now to a point where you're playing with guys that you look up to. Who are some of the guys that you've been looking up to? Like who's on this team? Who are some of the guys working with you right now to kind of help you get to that next level now?
At this stage, with the Nigerian national team, all of us are pretty much friends. So it's like we're all peers. We all competed against each other at some point. So imagine like all your boys that you known each other in high school. Y'all just come together in the summer to go hoop and beat some other countries. So that's pretty much the vibes. But a lot of the OG guys that played on the national team before me, they've been in my ear. You know, Gabe Monike played in 2004, 2008. A lot of guys. I'm with CEBL star Mike Nuga from Saskatchewan.
Who's this?
Yeah, Mike Nuga, Sask guy.
What's going on, Mike?
Yeah. So he's making a special guest appearance on the national team.
It's nice to see y'all.
Nice. Welcome to Target Score Weekly, man. This the more the merrier. I love this.
Yeah, so we got CEBL repping the CEBL really well.
Gotta rep the CEBL. Gotta rep the CEBL well. Shout out to CEBL.
Shout out to CEBL.
Shout out to CEBL.
So
next year we're gonna beat Winnipeg in every single game, and we're gonna win the whole thing. And we're gonna win the whole thing.
So
There's
he
your
just,
headline right there. Wow.
yeah,
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
He just admitted he's coming back to Saskatchewan next year. That's what that seemed like. That sounded like a promise.
he's a free agent. He doesn't want to announce what team he's going to. The Rattlers may be rattled. The Rattlers may be rattled.
Well, EJ, I don't know if you know this actually, but I feel like people in Winnipeg are pretty familiar with the Nigerian national team because they were here a couple of years ago. In 2019, they played an exhibition game against Team Canada at the Canada Life Center, and they beat Team Canada. Just talking to some of the guys on the team that you're in camp with right now, do you know where any of those guys in Winnipeg a couple years ago? Has that come up at all?
Yeah, one of my teammates just told me he was in Winnipeg like a couple hours ago. I was kind of surprised. I didn't know they had a game in Canada. So we were just talking about that. But, Winnipeg has a huge Nigerian population, so it was something very positive to go back for the kids. I know it meant a lot to see Team Canada, which is the home team because they're in Canada. And then, a lot of immigrants come to Winnipeg, a lot of immigrants come to Manitoba. To see their home team come to Canada probably made a world of a difference in 2019. And, I feel like for me, playing on the Sea Bears and being Nigerian had the same kind of effect for the youth in the community, and that's something I strive to do. I'm proud of, I'm proud to be a part of that story.
Obviously, EJ, you were an accomplished player before you made it to Winnipeg. You know how your season in Korea, shaped out, of course, and your college career as well. But just your summer in Winnipeg, just how do you think it helped you as a player, shaped you as a player, and just maybe helped you, get to where you are right now with your national team?
I think my summer in Winnipeg was great. I think more mentally than physically. Mentally, being able to experience a new country, meet new people, grow off the court, and all that played a part with me being better on the court. All that played a part with me being better on the court, and then definitely the team bonding, the relationship I have with my teammates, and us competing in the gym, working out. Those are the memories that you see when we come together. We're down in the fourth quarter, down going into Elam, and we don't separate. We come together and win. Just those moments that take place behind the scenes and no one really sees, that brings us together. So I feel like having that type of experience is a great energy, great positive source to bring in going into Olympic events.
Last time I saw you, EJ, you were doing a meet and greet with a lot of your teammates. It was the last thing that you would have done, I guess, in Winnipeg before heading to Nigeria, and a large part of it was with Zwike, who was selling your merchandise for the CENI Foundation. And we were chatting a little bit about this opportunity. I mean, you guys all became stars here in your own right. I mean, we see EJ Anosike shirts, Glenn Yang, Chad, Teddy, you name it. Everybody's got, people love these guys. And you had a chance to really boost your platform. Your foundation kind of took a bit of a jump as well with these partnerships. From that part of the experience, being able to use that platform, elevate it, and have these partnerships with clothing lines and stuff like that, I mean, how special was that for you as a professional player in his first time being in Canada, such a short season, and having such an impact?
It feels amazing. I feel like it's a testimony to all the hard work that was put in. When it comes to being a professional, it's just a custom motto when said, like, being a professional is being able to do what you have to do no matter how you feel within. And, one thing that you got to do as a professional, even though you don't always want to do it, you always got to give back. God bless you with talent to be able to take this game to the highest levels. It's on you to take that blessing and create opportunities to bless others and create positive moments in other people's lives. And that's something that always held dear to me. So being able to come together for a bigger cause with brands such as Wike, Dental Dreams, and some of my closest friends in the city, that's what being a pro is about. It's bigger than the stuff that goes on the court, making the jump shots, and winning games. It's about the lasting impact you have on a community. I'm sure if you go to the LA and they'll still talk about Kobe's three-peat with Shaq. You know what I mean? Like how it impacted brother community together, how it made the Staples Center alive again. I feel like that's just the best part about being a pro and just helping and being part of the community. And I built my platform to promote, motivate, and inspire the next generation. So to be able to do that in Canada and resonate with kids here, that was a blessing.
EJ, if you were able to finish the season with the team, where do you think the Sea Bears would have ended up? Do you think?
Where we should have been first.
I had a feeling you're going to say that. So I'll ask another question. We had Jelani Watson-Gale on last week, and he was saying, honestly, when I signed with Winnipeg, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, what to expect, or anything. How about yourself? When you signed with Winnipeg, Mike Taylor gives you that call. I know you said, I'm just down hoop. I don't care. I'll go wherever. But what did you really even expect to come out of this summer for you?
I just knew I was going to get better on the court. I didn't know what else to expect. When I announced I was going to Winnipeg, my friend Keith O'Mara, who also played for the Nigerian National team, reached out to me, and I found out quickly that he's from Winnipeg. So he was very happy that one of his brothers is coming to play Winnipeg. So when he came back from overseas, he made the experience of me transitioning to Winnipeg really fun. I found some African food in Winnipeg, so that made me not homesick because I eat African food before every game. So that was the best part about it. So, coming to Winnipeg, you don't know what to expect. You just it's what you make of it. You know what I mean? So I feel like having that mentality of no expectations coming in, and whatever the situation, you make the most of it. You enjoy life that way.
What was the go-to spot for African food in Winnipeg?
It's called the Tiga Restaurant, and it was right by where we stayed in Exchange.
Okay. All right, I'll have to check that out. Awesome.
And Taylor wrote about this in one of his free press articles when he was interviewing you. He found out that you have a relation to the Ball brothers, the big baller brand brothers themselves. Could you elaborate on that a little bit and how you guys came to be connected?
I would say I went to the University of Tennessee from 2020 and 2021. After I left the University of Tennessee, I was just like, I just want to live in California. Like, I just want to go play. I just want to go to the West Coast. So I just found a West Coast school that wanted me. Went to Cal State Fullerton. I went there, and the Drew League is like the biggest league in California, summer league. All the NBA players playing it. And so I went to the Drew League to watch. I first played with a team called All In. If you guys watched Last Chance U, Coach Ken Hunter, the coach on the wheelchair, is the coach for this Drew League team I was on in particular. He's a great guy. He loves me. He's a great guy. But he was the assistant coach. The head coach didn't know me, so I was on the bench that game.
Okay.
So after the game, Big Baller Brand has a game, and they only have 5 people because LeVar doesn't like making subs. So it's like, I was like, I like this. It's 5 people. If I get on, that means I'm playing the whole game. So I went to LeVar and asked, can I play? I just walked up in the locker room after the game and just went straight to him. Most people was starstruck. I just went right to him and said, y'all want to play? He said no. Then the next week I came back. I asked him, I want to play. He said no. Then the third week came, I asked him. He was like, just here, just take a jersey. Because he realized I wasn't going to keep coming back. Gave me a jersey, so I got in first game. I had like a turnover, airball the shot. And LeVar is getting on me. Like, he's really intense. Like, he's getting on me crazy. And then I scored like 20 in a row. And then he's like, yeah, I could tell. He's like, you like my son. Like, I could get on them, and they respond. They get it done. And then we ended up winning that game. It was really, and that's when he was like, I scored 20 in a row. And he was like, sheesh. So the next week I came back. He invited him to come back and play again. His son, his nephew Dre, had came back from vacation. So he took me out the starting lineup to put Dre back in. And then we lost the game. But he made a great point. He was like, I'm a family guy. And I benched someone that was a dog, that's a killer player, to put family first. I would never do that again. So he admitted that I was on the bench because it definitely did. But I still played good when I got in. And then since then, I was playing. And then when I was at Cal State Fulton, he would come down with Jello, and we would train. We'd work together. Me and Jello are pretty close. So we worked out together at school. After I finished at school, we played Duke, went to the tournament, went on conference. We were always around. I moved in with him in Chino Hills to train with him, Jello, Mello, and Zoe. And I feel like that was a great experience for my skill development because, he's the type of guy that's a lot of the training that we do is mental. And, he makes you believe that you could be the best player you possibly be. It's the same way I did with Simon. Like, I had it 10 times more with LeVar. Like, just really confidence is the biggest thing. If you don't have confidence, you can never be at your true potential. So that was the biggest takeaway. And then I played in a Drew League with him that next year. And I led the Drew League in scoring, 41 a game. Played against some great NBA guys. DeMar DeRozan scored 44 on him. Some of the Hamilton brothers I think I scored like 44 on them. So it was like a lot of. I never scored that much before, but he taught me like how easy it could be knowing how to use my body and be an efficient player at a #1. And I took that to Korea. Won MVP in Korea as a rookie at the KBL Cup, averaging almost 30, 12, and 5. That just helped me, the opportunity, the mindset is something I always carry with me. So, and then me and the brother were super cool. You know what I mean? It's like you don't forget those moments. We're all in there getting grilled by LeVar, training, getting better, competing, and that's the moments you always care about and you think about the rest of your life.
When we had that sit-down interview a couple weeks ago, EJ, you very casually said, "Yeah, and LeVar Ball, I trained with him." And I was like, "Whoa!" I had to cut him. I had to cut you. I was like, "Whoa! Time out." LeVar Balls, and I was peppered you with a bunch of questions about him. Is that a reaction that you often get when you talk about how you train with LeVar Ball? Because what we see, when you see him on TV, such a character and saying how he could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one and stuff, like he's
it
he's
did not
made
surprise
for TV,
me.
that guy.
Did not surprise me when you said that he could make you believe you could do anything, because that guy seems like a guy who could believe he could do anything.
That's a fact. You don't get results unless you believe in your results. Yeah. So on that, I appreciate it, like having like that reaction, like it's normal because LeVar, I'm gonna be honest, LeVar just doesn't train anybody. Like when we got close because he understood the type of person I was, the type of player I was, and me and Jello were cool, like we're friends. So it's like us competing against each other, make each other better. Like that's what the game's about. You know what I mean? So it was a benefit for both of us training together, competing and playing with each other. And that was just one of those great moments, especially for me, starting my pro career, having that last push of like, yo, you could be like anything you want to be in this game. Like, you control how far you take this. And I feel like when you have that mentality and those words of affirmation that someone teaches you how to have for yourself, that's something you always carry with you no matter what situation you're in, to be positive and be the best you can possibly be.
Man, what a cool experience. Good for you. That's awesome to hear that it kind of pushed you ahead too, because I know the Ball brothers, they were under the spotlight well before they were in the NBA, and they've carved their own path. We won't keep you too much longer, EJ. I know you have a busy time to get to, and it's late where you are. So if you're up for it, we're going to get into target time, our version of rapid fire. Taylor and I are going to ask questions back and forth, and we ask that you try to answer as quickly as you can. Maybe if there needs a little bit of context, you could add a little bit of context, but we'll try to roll through these as fast as possible. Are you ready?
I'm ready for Elam.
All right, let's do it.
Elam, man.
All right, do you want to start, Taylor, or do you want me to start?
I'll bat lead off here. So, EJ, you're talking about African food earlier. What is one African dish that everyone must try?
Jollof rice with sweet plantains.
Say that again, sorry?
Jollof rice with sweet plantains.
Okay, all right. My first question, kind of on the same level here. You said you have. What's that?
My teammates are giving me a hard time right now.
Oh, they're disagreeing with that one?
No.
Okay, you said you eat Ethiopian food was your pregame, I think you said earlier on. What is your favorite pregame meal?
Favorite pregame meal? All right, the day before I need upper soup, and then during the day, like I'll eat like sweet plantains and fried eggs before the day of the game.
All right, okay. You, my next one here, you, as EJ is getting roasted in the background here. You come from a basketball family. Obviously, your sister Nikki, national champion at Tennessee. Your brother OD, he led the nation in rebounding at Siena, right? Yeah. And you're youngest of 8 siblings. But who is the best basketball player in the family?
You're talking to him.
Talking to him. Okay. Would your other 7 siblings agree with that, or?
I'll make them agree with it.
I like it. All right.
I love it. Okay, back to the Ball brothers for a second.
Yeah.
You have to play 2-on-2 with the Ball brothers. Which one is your teammate and why?
Jello, that's my dog. We've been in the trenches together. We train together. That's my dog for life. Us two versus everybody. That's how it always be. That's how it be. That's how it was when we trained together anyway. LeVar put us on the same team.
Who wins?
I can't disclose that information. Whoever gets ball first wins.
All right, fair.
Other than the fans and your teammates and coaches, of course, what's something about Winnipeg that you think you're gonna miss?
I'm gonna miss Santa Lucia pizza spot. I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss OEB breakfast spot. I'm gonna miss the Joey Slattery interviews post game and conversation. What else am I gonna miss? This is a great question.
Great answers, I must say.
Yeah, definitely. I miss Colosso's roasters that's in the gym with Sport for Life. I'll miss that. And that's about it.
Good answer. You, Santa Lucia, that's the best pizza in town. So
I'm
good on you.
This down. I'm going after sponsorships now. This is all great information. Great
Yeah.
leads.
Get us free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. OEB,
no
Santa Lucia, free coffee. There you go. Well
and
done.
I come endorsed by EJ Anosike, so that's my lead right there. So that's
There
great.
you go.
Okay, EJ, you're visiting a new city for the first time. Which teammate are you bringing with you that will plan the best trip?
Ooh. That will plan the best trip. We don't got planners, we just got movers. You know, if I'm planning somebody, like...
Okay, who's going to have... Then let's switch it around. Instead of planning...
It's definitely Chad.
It's
Chad. Yeah.
Why Chad?
Definitely Chad. Chad always got something planned for us. So it's definitely going to be him. Like, any city we go to, especially in Canada, Chad knows somebody. He knows what's going on. So he'll play the best trip. Shout out to Chad.
He's kind of the connect, eh? He kind of seemed like a little bit like Papa Bear playing on the Sea Bears thing. I feel like he was kind of like, welcome to my city, and brought you guys all around.
Yeah, shout out to the Giant Sea Bear Chad. The beast forever.
This isn't my question, but what's the best thing that the Beast from River East planned for you guys?
Man, there's been so many. I know the guys went to his house yesterday and showed at the pool, ate food. That looked like it was a vibe. I'll definitely say that one, even though I wasn't there. Because I kind of wished I was.
Fair enough.
Bigger
fair
and
enough.
better things. We get why you couldn't make it. I don't think anybody blames you.
Yeah.
All right,
Here
you're
you
up,
go.
Tay.
So, next NCAA season, Sacred Heart, Tennessee, and Cal State Fullerton all make the Final Four. All 3 of them make it. Who are you cheering for? Putting you on the spot here.
You know, I'm gonna be repping every school. I'm gonna be repping every school. I'll rep every school. Final Four. You know what I mean? You gotta go roll with you at the end. Shout out to the Titans and Cal State Fullerton. We made history. They brought me to Cali. If I don't move to Cali, none of this happens. I'm not here right now. So I'll say living in California, playing for Cal State Fullerton, that set the tone for my whole career. And I gotta show love.
Okay.
Yo,
all right.
my other teammate co-signed that. My other teammate Daniel, who told me that played at USC over here, co-signed moving to California was the best decision he made as a basketball player. And I second that.
All
There
right.
you go.
All
Good
right.
answer.
Okay.
Good answer.
I'm gonna backtrack a little bit here because I know there's a ton of great athletes that have gone through the University of Tennessee. So, who do you think is the greatest athlete to come out of Tennessee? Yeah, could be any sport. Any sport.
See, that's a lot of athletes, man.
Right?
I mean, Peyton Manning's that dude. Peyton Manning's that dude at Tennessee. Chris Walker's that dude on the court.
Right?
You know, Bernard King's that dude. My sister's one of them. But you know what I mean? But you know, I'm a family guy. Shout out to my sister, EJ Anosike. You know what I mean? She set the precedent for everything the family accomplished. So I'm gonna go with her. And we being biased, that's just how I'm gonna be.
That's okay. You said family first. I'm sure Peyton Manning understands. He would put his brother ahead too.
Peyton and Bernard King, though. Bernard King from New York. You know what I mean? I played in the city a lot growing up, so he set the precedent on men's basketball, Bernard King. Women's basketball, going with my sister, man.
I like it. I like it.
You said you were the best player in the family, so you had to make that. You had to make one up to your sister with that answer. So that was a good move by you. Smart answer. And my last one, EJ. I know you're a big Kobe Bryant fan, and there's probably a million different games you could choose from. But what's your favorite Kobe Bryant game or memory?
I just remember he threw Shaq a lob and Shaq dunked it. I don't know what year that was, but that's my earliest memory of hooping. And it was funny because he wore number 8, and I'm the 8th child, so that's why 8 was my favorite number. And then he changed to 24, so I was like, all right, I'm with 24. So I'll say that was that moment. I think that was that against the Blazers when he threw that lob to Shaq? Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in I think that was the Western Finals, like
Western Finals, yeah. So I remember
2000 maybe.
Yeah, I remember that's like my earliest fond moment, like Shaq and Kobe, early Lakers. We was in the projects in New York City, watching it on a little TV. Like, and then shortly after, my mom bought me a little hubby basketball hoop, and I just kept wanting to dunk and saying Kobe. My whole family was coach right now.
Okay.
That's really what you
Nice.
did.
I would say though, EJ, I feel like as great as Kobe was, he would have been so much better if he played for the Celtics. I believe that in my heart.
That hurts.
A big Celtics. I don't have my Celtics water bottle today, but this is about the time where I drink out of my Celtics water bottle during the show. So you're lucky there. Okay, so hey, Black Mamba, right? He's known for his killer instinct. Now, you are double teamed, down 2 points with 2 seconds left. Who are you passing the ball to for the game winner? You can't take the shot. You got to pass it to one of your teammates.
Jelani Watson-Gale, CEBL 6th Man of the Year. My guy for life from London. My guy for life, Mr. Dimes himself. Jelani Watson-Gale for the win. I don't know who commentated that game and said it. Well, at the top of the key. Was that versus y'all at SAS? When I hit Jelani on the wing and sent y'all home? We're recreating that. We're recreating that. Jelani Watson-Gale for 3. We're not going overtime. He's sending us home.
I was just gonna say, if you're listening to this podcast, you might want to go to YouTube for this one and watch this one. This one's been entertaining. I will give a bonus question though. I didn't have this planned, but you talked about New York. You're a hip hop guy, right?
Yeah.
Jay-Z or Nas?
Man, that's a tough one.
Right?
Tough one. I ain't from Queens. I gotta rock with Jay. So if you ask someone from Queens, like if you had just right form, I'm sure he's gonna say Nas. That's the side of town, New Jersey. So I'm going with Jay. Rock Nation.
There's no wrong answer on that one. There's no wrong answer. All right, that concludes our target time. Thank you so much for that, EJ.
Thank God.
Okay, we really appreciate you taking the time. I know you've been busy out there in Nigeria. We loved having you here. It's been great getting to know you throughout the year. And best of luck out there. I really hope that, you get the most out of the experience beyond just winning. I know this is important to you. I hope you're taking it all in. And who knows, maybe we're seeing you playing in the Olympics in 2024.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Time to go road to Paris, Operation Paris.
Awesome. Thanks, EJ. Nice seeing you, man, and best of luck over there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
What an interview with EJ Anosike. A special guest appearance from Mike Nuga of the Saskatchewan Rattlers. Got a little bit of commentary on some of the plays throughout that. That might be that's an all-timer so far on Target Score Weekly. Week 7, I think we really have a candidate for the new bar set when it comes to player interviews.
Absolutely, yeah. EJ's going to have to be a recurring guest moving forward, even if he never returns to Winnipeg or plays for the Sea Bears ever again. Who cares? He's just a fun guy to chat with. Obviously, we could have asked him probably 10,000 questions about, training with LeVar Ball and the Ball family. But yeah, he's actually, when I wrote that feature story about him a couple weeks ago, the way I let it off was basically saying how this guy, he's so early on in his career, but he can already basically write a book about all his basketball experiences that he's had. So yeah, really fun chat with EJ. Glad we got him on.
Anything surprise you out of that interview?
Anything surprised me? Not surprised me, but I was impressed by how much places he tried in Winnipeg. San Lucia shout out, OEB shout out, the coffee shop at Sport. Yeah, here you go. Yeah. Come home to a pizza later. Yeah, that'd be great. The coffee shop at Sport for Life Center. So yeah, it's kind of fun.
Coliseo? No, Coliseum. I can't remember. Yeah, I've had the coffee in numerous times because they have another place in St. Boniface too. It is good coffee.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, I mean, just we talked to this guy throughout the year, right? And it was obvious that he enjoyed his time in Winnipeg. So it was fun, getting to kind of rehash that with him and see what really stood out with him. So yeah, nothing really surprised me, I don't think. But yeah, just I knew he'd be a fun guest, and he definitely delivered. So
definitely delivered. That was an awesome interview. So yeah, hey, big weekend coming up. It all concludes the Final Four set for the championship weekend. Calgary beating Edmonton, and I wouldn't say it was a whooping, but it was pretty much in control from wire to wire. They now meet Vancouver, who you've mentioned many times should not be there. But hey, I actually had a dinner with Paul Jones and Rod Black, and Paul Jones thinks that could be the dark horse team in that tournament, a well-rested team that had time to prepare for this. I don't know if people want to see them winning outside of Vancouver the way they got in, but wouldn't that be something, eh? But they also enjoyed their time in Winnipeg. They got to call probably the coolest game in Winnipeg basketball history, I imagine. I wasn't there for the Thunder days. I wasn't there for the Cyclone days, but that was a heck of a time. But yeah, Calgary out there, Vancouver in the West. Niagara got the bye for the East. They are the first seeded team in the East. Scarborough upsetting Ottawa. I did not see that coming, but that's a team with Cat Barber. You can't count them out. They were there last year. They're looking to redeem themselves. We're not going to get too much into it, Taylor. We're going to wait, and we're going to give you the rundown next week on Championship Weekend. And, of course, the CEBL Individual Award winners, 3 Sea Bears up for it. Simon Hildebrand up for the U Sports Player of the Year. Jelani Watson-Gale up for 6th Man of the Year. And, of course, Teddy Buckets Allen up for MVP. No surprise there. How many will win? Will they all win? We'll find out on the weekend, and we will have everything recapped next week. Taylor, it's been a pleasure as always, man. You have yourself a great time. We'll see you next week.
Take care, man. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Target Score Weekly podcast. To stay up to date with Winnipeg Sea Bears and CEBL news, as well as future episode releases, follow Joey and Taylor on Twitter and Instagram at TaylorAllen31 and at Joey Slattery CTV. And wherever you're getting the podcast, be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.